Okay, so let's get started with a basic face frame. I'll go ahead and sketch this now. Okay, so I'm just going to draw a basic frame of a cabinet. This is the face frame. And just kind of go over the critical features here that we need to know when we start planning this stuff. All right, so we'll do one here too. We'll do a little divider. All right, so this is a basic face frame. And the reason I'm drawing this is kind of go over what you need to know here. And obviously, this is a course in cabinets, so we're going to do that, right? Okay, so first things first, we're talking about a kitchen cabinet here. And that's critical because we need to know our dimensions. So this cabinet would probably have actually a toe kick down here. Okay, and that toe kick height, as we've discussed, would be 3.5 inches. And the overall height of the cabinet from top to bottom is going to be 34.5 inches. All right, so that just leaves our width. And as we discussed in our NKPA videos where we designed out our dimensions, the width varies. And then your configuration varies. Do you want a drawer? Do you want just 2 doors? Yada, yada, yada. But this right here is a good start. All right, so if this whole height is 34.5 inches, for the face frame, since we have the toe kick below the face frame, we know the height then from here to here. And that height is 34.5 minus 3.5. So that's 31 inches. I should sound more sure of myself, right? Yeah, 34.5 minus 3.5, 31 inches. All right, so now we know that these two outer boards, the left and the right boards here, are our stiles, okay? And that's spelled, I guess I should write it on here. Probably pick someplace else to write this, but it's S-T-I-L-E. Okay, so when we start seeing these terminologies, you know, you see what they're written like too. So our stile boards are 31 inches long. All right, we got 2 of them. Great. So now next we wanted to, so that's fixed. For base cabinets, that's going to be the same pretty much no matter what. Even though the widths here are going to change, this dimension here, the width is going to change, but the thickness is always going to be about 3/4 of an inch, and the height of these are 31 inches. So if we change the width, though, if we go from a 12-inch wide cabinet or a 18-inch or a 30 or 36 or 40, whatever you want to do, the only thing that really changes is the width, right? So that's going to be the width, or the length, actually, the width of the cabinet, but the length of these rail boards. So this is a rail, this is a rail, and this is a rail. This is your bottom rail, this is your top rail, and we can call this the middle rail. I think some people or carpenters will refer to it as like some kind of middle divider, but really it's just a rail. So the length of these rails depends on the width of the cabinet and the width of the stile boards. So let's just assume we're going to make this whole cabinet here, the whole width of the cabinet, 24 inches. I should put down here so you can see it, 24 inches. So what are the widths of these? Well, they're whatever you want them to be. I tend to make mine 1.5 inches, but let's just say you make them 2 inches. So they're 2 inches wide from this edge to this edge. Because now we know the length of our rail boards. They're 24 inches minus 2 minus another 2. So this is 20 inches. That means this one's 20 inches and this one's 20 inches. Okay? So just from the width and the fact that we know it's a kitchen cabinet, we know out of the face frame boards, we know 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 parts, right? So what's left from the face frame is really just this divider here. And the divider is going to be also equal to the length of your doors. We can get into the doors next. But so again, this is really whatever you want it to be. It's dependent upon the width of these, okay? The width of these. And since we're doing 2 inches here, we'll make these 2 inches wide as well. Okay, so this will be 2 inches from here to here. We'll say this is 2 inches, and this is 2 inches. Okay? Just for consistency. Now, in a real, when you actually go to build yours, you actually go to design it, you can make these. So in a previous kitchen cabinet, I made these 1.5 inches. They're all 1.5 inches, except my top rail, I think I made 2 inches. And it kind of, because the countertop will sit up here and actually creates a little bit more of a shadow. It'll actually look thinner if this is 1.5 inches all the way around. So making it 2 inches actually gives it an appearance of 1.5 inches because some of it gets a little hidden from the shadow line of the countertop. But anyway, you can make all this stuff whatever width you want. Just for this example, we're going to do 2 inches. 1.5 inches looks good. 2.5 inches looks good. The only issue to have with 2 inches is you can't buy S4S lumber at 2 inches wide. We'll get into that when we start picking our lumber out, but you'd have to buy wood and cut it to that width. If you do 1.5 inches, you wouldn't have to worry about that. It would already be 1.5 inches for you. All right, so what's left? Well, we need to figure out the opening of this drawer. All right, so let's assume this is, let's say 4.5 inches, again, whatever you want. All right, so this length here, then we can calculate as, you didn't think you'd have to do math in this, right? Sorry. So it's going to be, actually, you're going to start with the 31 inches. You're going to subtract 2 inches. Okay, now we have 29. Subtract another 2, 27. Subtract another 2, 25. Subtract the opening of your drawer, and that's 4.5, right? So we actually can keep track of this if we want. So 31 minus 246 minus 4.5. Okay? So that's 31 minus actually 10.5, and that's 20.5, I think. I don't have my calculator out, but I believe the length then of this board is 20.5 inches. Okay? So there's a lot of mess going on here, but just laying out the face frame on a piece of paper gets you to understand what's what here. You don't have to do this on paper. If you're going to do this on a built-in, and if you're just building one cabinet, it makes a lot more sense to do it on paper. If you're doing an entire kitchen set of cabinets, knowing this is critical for when we go to put our cabinets in a cabinet planning program to get our cut sheets and our parts lists and all that. You need to know how you're putting them together. All right, so that's why we're doing this. But once you know this stuff, where are all these dimensions coming from, and how do you know? Well, you start with the overall dimensions, you pick out your widths, and the lengths just kind of pop out based on some basic assumptions or whatever you're doing with. So that's the basics of a face frame cabinet.